Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Sustainalogue. Sustainalogue is a candid, heartfelt webinar series that takes you into the minds and hearts of the sustainability leaders that we work closely with. Each episode will feature a conversation with a visionary leader, such as, in this case, Nahla Nabil, who will share her personal journeys towards environmental leadership, her career transition into sustainability, her mental health and work-life balance, but most importantly, her victories and her setbacks in the fight for a sustainable future. So Nahla, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Jiha. I'm very honored.
The pleasure is all mine. Please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself.
So I am Nahla Nabil. I am a sustainability strategist. I come from an HSC background back in the days, and I transitioned into sustainability and ESG. I work currently in the transport sector and in the United Arab Emirates. And I've recently co-authored a children's book and called Mission Zero. It's about climate change, and another chapter about greening our curriculum in a book called Green PMO.
Well, you actually went very nicely into my first question. Because you're an author and because you write about sustainability, how does your writing help you influence the decision making that you take every day when you are implementing real life scenarios related to sustainability?
Good question. And I love this question. Thank you, Jihan. But writing for me is about building bridges, okay? And just creating clarity. And I really believe in the power of words, okay? So words educate, words break down barriers, and they drive a lot of actions. And for me, writing is really how I translate the complexity of all sustainability factors and all ESG into something people can actually act on and use. So I really think that writing is about removing unnecessary complexities. And actually, I'll share this story. I'll never forget my professor, Robin Hankin, back at university. When I was doing my pre-thesis, he told me an advice, and I owe him this advice. He said, Nahla, if you want to explain something, make sure a 12-year-old can actually understand it. So that advice actually stuck with me because a 12-year-old can grasp a concept. It means I've really, truly simplified it, but without losing the depth. Yeah. And that's how exactly I approach my work. ESG is already a very complex field, right? It's made even harder by unnecessary jargon. Yeah. And I remember using the other day, I was using the word nexus. We all know, the word nexus, water nexus, energy, water nexus. And it was just so normal for me to use that word nexus. I mean, the word nexus, you use it a lot of the strategies. Yeah. And this guy stopped me and is like, and hold on. I mean, I live in this part of the world where English is extremely common. However, it is still a second language. And it was so normal for me to use nexus. The guy comes up to me and he's like, oh, Nahla, what does nexus mean? And then this is when I said, it just means connected. And then I thought, so why can't I just say connected? And this was a defining moment for me, Jira. It made me even more intentional about how I communicate.
Yeah.
So ensuring what I write, whether it's an ESG report, a LinkedIn post, or a book, is just not technical, but it's actually clear and accessible for people. Yeah, so probably know you follow me on LinkedIn, and
I do. Yes, that's how we got to know each other. Yes.
Yes, exactly. So my posts aren't just about sharing the knowledge; it's more breaking down those barriers, and by creating those step-by-step guides and checklists, things that are usually locked behind consultancy fees. I believe that ESG knowledge should be democratized. If someone reads one of my posts and feels empowered to start their ESG journey, then I've done my job. And that's exactly the same principle I had when I co-authored Mission Zero with my amazing colleague, Farah. The goal wasn't just to write a climate change book for kids. It was more of taking something very big, scientific, and overwhelming, and making it very real, very engaging, right? And it's so important. I mean, my book got an endorsement from Dr. Jane Goodall, and she said something that really resonated with me. She said, the book, sorry, made the environmental issues accessible to young readers and, understandable for young readers. And it really reaffirmed my belief that words can inspire real actions.
Well, the thing is, from my point of view, writing a book is one of the hardest thing anyone can do, to be honest. I've been approached so many times to write a book by publication houses, and I've always said no because until this day, I wouldn't know what to write about. So the fact that you took that leap of faith and the fact that you wrote something, to me, it's a massive achievement. And specifically for children, because as you say, sustainability is so technical and we underestimate how technical it is because we live in an echo chamber. Have you noticed all of us, we just talk to each other and for me, I don't agree on it. If anything, I don't want to talk to my sustainability peers. I want to talk to the cynics out there because I'm going to learn from them more than anything. And they're the people I need to test my messages and my initiatives on before I roll it out. And some people actually use writing books. I don't know about you, but did you find writing a book almost like therapeutical?
It was. I don't consider myself a writer. So I really don't. It's one of those things that I just wanted, it's the words. I just wanted the words out there. And if you look at the book, it's very conversational. Yeah. Okay. It's very simple. All right. And this is how I also approach all my writings. It's just really simplified, no jargon.
No, I can vouch for how you write. I have to admit it's extremely clear, to be honest. So we all know that our world is a complicated world. We also know that our world is an ever-changing world. When it comes to the regulations, every 6 months there's something new coming out, which is daunting, to be honest. It's truly daunting. So how are you balancing the difficulty of navigating these regulations that are keeping appearing out of nowhere with your own sanity, where you don't lose hope or faith in your own capabilities? Do you have any tips that we can follow?
Tips and tricks that you can follow. Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. Yeah, so climate change, sustainability, it can feel like an uphill battle. And the thing is, with sustainability, we're not talking about climate change and environment only. We're talking about social, we're talking about governance, equity, inclusion. There's a lot of things that has a lot of change, involves a lot of change, like cultural change, ethical change. It's a big drastic change. But I've learned that hope isn't something you passively wait for. And it's something you actually cultivate actively through little small wins, and a clear sense of purpose. So I stay motivated by, for example, focusing on collective action. So I know that no one person can fix everything and every person can do something. So when I go to work and I know that I'm going to be tackling an ESG issue or a sustainability issue, I know I have my HR peeps over there that will help me. And I know that I've got the people up in the operations that will definitely have my back. And it's not my back as Nahla, but it's as a back as in terms of they will be doing their jobs. And those little simple things gives me hope. And when we wrote the Mission Zero, so I kept coming back to the idea of hope. Yeah. Not a naive hope, but one that is grounded with solutions. So with the book, there was in every page and every visual, every piece of Science Simplified was a way of saying, yes, we have a very big problem, but here you go, guys. This is what we're going to do about it. Yeah. And you know what? I'll give you examples of things that are being done about it. So there is hope. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And honestly, when I see people are being, whether inspired through my posts or inspired by the Mission Zero book or any of my writings, it reminds me that honestly, every little action, no matter how small, really adds up to something great. I think you need to think about it as you try to leave a legacy behind you. Legacy for your kids, for your, for children, your children, everyone's children. Yeah. And I think this vision keeps me grounded.
When you say about hope, for me, I agree with you. Hope is crucial. we have hope is a superpower.
Yeah,
And if you know how to hone it, it will take you places.
absolutely.
And it's also a survival mechanism. If we keep looking at the negatives, we are going to be miserable, and it's going to affect our mental health. It's going to affect our families.
Yeah.
So I think to learn how to be hopeful by having, as you say, small wins, but then acknowledging the small wins. Because sometimes we actually don't reflect back on what we do. We are so in the do mode that we don't sit back and reflect and say, actually, that campaign that we launched, even though it's a tiny campaign, but the effect of it is
Yes.
massive.
You know, Jihan, it's actually a coping mechanism I have in my life as overall is I try to look at the good things, try to look at everything, you know, any bad situation, I just try to look for the good things in it.
Well, that's the thing. Okay. My last question. You've been in the sustainability space for the past 2 decades now. First of all, how did you stumble upon it? And can you also walk us through a victory that made you so proud of what you have done in your work that justifies all of the pressures and all of the changing landscape that we're facing every single day?
That's very deep, yeah. All right.
Right.
So it's very deep, Dan, but no. So I started with health and safety. It started with me being in this part of the world when I started in aviation and aircraft maintenance. Okay. And I was one of the first females in the region that actually did health and safety and aircraft maintenance. And back then I had to obtain an NOC to work in that field. Right.
What's an
An objection, like a waiver, as a female to work in the health and safety sector within the aviation. So it was a challenge, and that was back in, I don't know if I can say this, but that's back in 2003.
You can say this. It's in the record.
2003. So and it, to me it was a challenge, but nothing, everything was possible for me. Yeah. So, you know what? So what? I'm a female that I'm going to be working, you know, in the hangars with the males and, you know, health and safety. So what? I think this gave me a little bit of a kick that I can do everything and everything is possible. You know, I've managed to break barriers. So if I managed to break barriers, you know, I can manage to do a lot of other things. And then I loved aviation. Okay. And I stayed in aviation for so long. I worked as health and safety and environment. And then I did this major project. All right. But that was not the moment. I mean, there was a lot of moments, but I think I remember a future moment, an aha moment. But I'll just tell you about this one that really made me fall in love with sustainability. It was back in the airport. We did a project about carbon accreditation. And back then, this was not very common. Honestly, it was a learning lesson for me, too, because I didn't understand what scope 1 is, scope 2, and scope 3. And it was fun. I found it extremely fun. I found it like hide and seek. Go look and find where do you get this energy from. And I loved it. You know, I think it's very relative to what I love in life. I like watching CSI and Law and Order and etc. So scope 1, 2, and 3 were exactly the same. So after this, and I was like, intrigued. Although I finished my bachelor's from New Zealand, Auckland, in environmental science, but I was in, but it's that time that I was like, you know what, I like scope 1, 2, and 3. Let's see what this sustainability is all about. And I got to find out sustainability is not only about environment, it's about something that I really like, which is the social part of it. When I broke barriers, I was like, hey, this is something we can talk about, we can work on. And I really started loving it. And then I shifted to land transport, and I've been loving it so much. And this one moment that actually made me feel so proud is when my daughter, Talia, came to me and told me, Mama, I have been chosen as the sustainability coordinator of the whole school.
No.
And I was like, how do you know sustainability? I never really chatted. I mean, we hear about it, we talk about it, but I mean, what happened there? And she's like, Mama, I just love it. And she started talking about it so passionately. And And I loved how my daughter understood sustainability was really only about environment, Jihan,
Right.
which is very seldom because
Yeah.
a lot of people always think it's only the environmental part and the climate action part, but it's beyond that.
Hmm.
And I was so proud. I was so proud, Jihan, when she was talking about how her as a female needs to make sure, that she needs to be out there, a proper representative, etc. And I think this is where I said, yeah, Nahla, you've done a good job there.
Well,
So yeah, I've had a lot of aha moments, but I think this was like, that's why you're doing what you're doing, Nahla. Enjoy what you're doing. And what I love now is my youngest at the moment, Maya, is also so involved in this, doing some beach cleanups and working, and so it's really nice to see this. It just shows that, you walk the walk and talk the talk. So
well, the apple did not fall far from the tree, did it? Yeah, Nahla.
I'm very proud of them. I'm
That
very
is
proud of them.
amazing. That is amazing. Well, Nahla, thank you so much for coming on our episode of Sustainalogue. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, Nahla, how do they do that?
Well, they can reach out on LinkedIn. My name is Nahla Nabil, and you'll find me on LinkedIn. I'm very active, and you can send me only my messages over there. I can share my contact details with them, or emails or phone numbers with you.
Well, thank you. And we will also in the show notes, we will add the link of your book
Fantastic.
and any of the references that you referenced today. But
Sounds good.
so, until then, take care, my dear.